Hi, this is PJ Gorno, and this is my final presentation for EAD 566 Inquiry and Evaluation in Schools. My problem of practice was chronically absent students in grades K1 and 2. To be chronically absent, a student needs to miss 10 or more days, excused or unexcused, in a school year. This problem can often be overlooked by both parents and staff members since state law only requires children to be enrolled in school at age 6, which is typically first grade. So there's very little recourse for schools for children younger than that, the K and actually half of our first grade population. Chronically absent students require more attention from teachers who are trying to catch them up academically and administration who have to follow state guidelines and develop plans with families to get them to improve their attendance rates. So why is this important to fix this problem? Student academic growth is directly related to in-person learning. Students who are shown to be chronically absent early in their educating life are more likely to be chronically absent or truant as they progress through their educational system. And by developing a standard school-wide practice for all staff to follow, chronic absentee rates decrease. I chose to do an action-based research model. I chose this because it tends to focus on my strengths. I'm a people person. I like talking with people. I like working together with people, forming teams, bouncing ideas off each other. I also like that it's a fluid response to a problem. You can take an intervention, you can try it out, discuss it with your teammates. If it doesn't work, okay, we move on to the next one. We don't have to wait till the end of our problem to see whether or not the solution or intervention might have worked. I chose data from 3 different sources. PowerSchool, which is our program that we use to take attendance from. I chose the 2018 school year, and I focused on students who missed 7, 10, and 15 or more days of school because those are associated with interventions our administration uses. A teacher survey, and I asked some questions like, what do you think about our policy? How do they intervene with students and families? And what contributes to the problem and how can we improve the problem? And my third one was administration interviews. What is your role in the problem? What expectations do you have for teachers? And what interventions do you use? I believe that my sources are reliable and valid. PowerSchool is quantitative data that is tracked every day, so that's hard numbers. The teacher survey, there were no identifying information was asked, so I didn't know their name or what grade they taught, so I think the answers were more forthright, and the questions were specific to the problem of practice that I was looking into. The administration interviews, the questions were specific, again, to the problem of practice, and the questions were the same for both individuals. My findings with PowerSchool. We had a student population of 221 students for the 2019 school year. Again, I collected data for 7 days, 10 days, and 15 days. And as you can see from the graph, we had 35 students that were absent 7 days in our school. We had 16 students that were absent 10 days in our school. And when I first saw that, I kind of took a step back thinking, well, maybe our practice does work. But what I noticed when I started looking at the 7 days was that it tended to have a lot of students, my 2 boys included were on that list, and we had gone on a vacation, a family vacation for 3 days during the school year. It was for a wedding, and we took whatever homework they needed with us on that trip so they could do it. So that 7 days I didn't believe was a true reflection of what the problem was. When I got to the 15-day, you can see that 65 students were absent 15 days or more, which is a huge number. That is over 30% of our population was missing 15 or more days, 3 weeks of school. So that was a glaring point that I saw that there truly is a problem with this, with absenteeism in our school. With the teacher survey, there were 12 teachers that I sent the survey to. 10 of them replied back. 90% said that our current district policy was not effective to help reduce chronic absenteeism, which I thought was an amazing number. 30% of teachers reached out to parents about high absenteeism. When asked when do they seek help from administration, 30% said after 3 consecutive days, 20% said after 5 consecutive days, and 50% felt that when it was a concern, when they felt it was a concern, they would reach out to administration. I asked them what the biggest problem facing these students were who were chronically absent. 70% said home issues and 30% said academic loss. How can we improve our attendance issues? 20% said building relationships with students, which I thought was a really low number. I thought it would be higher. 30% said working with parents to develop a plan. 40% said have consequences for the parents. And 10% said offer incentives for students to be more active and present in school. The administration interviews, I had 2 administrators I interviewed. One was a principal who can make and change policies. The second was a guidance counselor who was the first contact for families when students are chronically absent. The current policy at the administration level with attendance issues, after 7 days a letter goes home. After 10 days there's a call home to the parents. And after 15 days an in-person meeting is requested where they lay out a plan and develop a plan for these families to change these habits. When asked what role a teacher should have in this process, if a student misses 3 consecutive days, they should refer to the office. And for my previous screen, only 30% did that after 3 consecutive days. Others used 5 days or when they thought it was an issue. If a pattern of absenteeism was noticed, then an SST referral should be made. Now, one note that I found interesting was the guidance counselor that I interviewed made note that this is the 4th principal he's had in the past 5 years, and each one of these principals he worked under had different ways of handling attendance issues, which again could be part of the problem as well if the administration side of things don't have a clear policy or practice that they follow. So, what do I do with these findings? The Power data shows that our current policies and practices do not curb chronic absenteeism among our students. The teacher surveys show that there's no common practice or intervention among the 3 grade levels. Most of the teachers believe the current policies are ineffective, and most of the blame was put on families as a reason why students were not attending school. There was no internal reflection in any of the answers given. There's a disconnect between what teachers practice and what administration wants done with students who are frequently absent. And the administrative interviews showed there is no consistency from administrator to administrator, and there are no interventions between the 3 levels of contact with parents. Implications for practice. So what do? We have to acknowledge our current practices are ineffective. That's the first thing. We need a clear and consistent practice when dealing with both students and parents of students who are chronically absent. To do this, we need to develop universal strategies and interventions that are used by all teachers and staff in all age groups. We need to find professional development with best practices for all staff, and we need to make this problem a priority because absenteeism leads to low building morale, it leads to academic gaps, it just leads to a bunch of different problems. So we have to make this a priority going forward. The surprises for me. As an educator, we tend to find external reasons for shortcomings, and with this problem, I initially wanted to blame the parents as well. I was like, get your kid to school. But after talking to teachers and finding, well, geez, maybe this is an in-house problem, I had to take an internal look at what we were doing and saw that there were gaps. So we can't blame the parents if we aren't doing what we're supposed to do the best way we can do it. Using different types of data can really bring light to a problem of practice. I really like the PowerSchool data for attendance. It's the first time I've ever really deep dived into it, and it's clear, hard evidence. You cannot argue against it. Students are absent. Students are chronically absent, and it doesn't get better after our administrative or teacher interventions. And finally, good research takes time. It can and shouldn't be rushed, so rush to try and fix the problem. For the future, one of the things that after I've done this project that I reflected back on, I would like to add a couple different people to my committee that I had. First was a person in the technology department. I was struggling to get my PowerSchool data because they're busy like everyone else is. So I think having someone on that committee, I'd be able to get access to that data quicker. And I think I'd also like to add a parent on the committee to get their perspective and ideas of what to do to help with this problem. I don't know what parent I would reach out to, if it would be a parent whose child comes all the time, or maybe ask a parent whose child isn't coming. Maybe I get one of each type just to get their different perspectives. And finally, I'd like to use those journal entries I found to help create new practices to curb absenteeism, in my district. Thank you, and questions.